selling out is the new keeping it real. And if you hadn't heard the term before, selling out is when someone, they move out of a bad situation and somehow they financially are able to move in a better neighborhood, maybe drive a better car, maybe they're doing better for themselves. It could be maybe they got a great education and they decided to get into a good career and they're doing better, or maybe they became famous. And you're going to see a clip of famous African Americans, and I'm just going to start talking. And so you're going to see several clips, and when I get to some of them, I'll express some of my thoughts on this selling out. Selling out is the new keeping it real, and it's a little exciting right now because this is November the 7th, 2016, and it's the day before they elect a new president. And all the talk is about controversies in the black communities. And, you'll hear a lot about politics and Americans and, money and money matters and police brutality and shootings of black males and females and a lot of Black Lives Matter. And you'll hear a lot about brutality in poor neighborhoods towards black and Latino people of color and minorities. And you'll hear about either Hillary or Donald Trump and who's going to be the president. It's funny because we'll know after Tuesday, Wednesday. But you've seen this show that used to come on regular. Well, this right here, I believe it's a clip of what happened in Milwaukee, because there in Milwaukee there's a lot of marginalization of the black community, and a lot of blacks were not really doing well financially, so they were all kind of like pushed together in bad neighborhoods, low income neighborhoods where they couldn't really make a lot of money and do well, and all the wealthier people, or the people who were doing well and living in nicer living situations, nicer living quarters, live on the outskirts. And they do this redlining, which still goes on and has went on throughout history, where neighborhoods are totally in decay and forgotten about and neglected. And believe it or not, this right here, this clip is in Washington, D.C., and these clips are fairly recent. And this is in Washington, D.C., believe it or not, the nation's capital. And it's sad because there are black people, Hispanic people, poor people living in these living conditions. And you virtually have neighborhoods that are left neglected. And why is that? We can answer the question. Some people will argue, oh, it's because it's the Democrats. Oh, it's because of liberalism. It's because you don't have Donald Trump as the president. Oh, it's because you keep doing the same mistakes over again. Oh, it's because, there's so many different political aspects to it. But most people would say it's because it's just poverty, and it's generational poverty, and it's because the neighborhoods have been virtually neglected and they haven't been cared for because of who is living in the neighborhood, because of racism, because of total neglect, because they see, oh, this neighborhood, I don't care, my kids aren't living in it, my family's not living in it, so we don't care. And that's the way people treat people. And then if you have your kids living in neighborhoods like this, what do you think your kids are going to turn out like? They have to see this every day. You don't feel safe with your family living in neighborhoods, and you try to keep your family out of neighborhoods because you don't want them to turn out like thugs and hood type of children, and you don't want them to always be in danger, and you're afraid for your sons getting put in gangs. You're afraid for your daughters, their influences, teen pregnancy. You're afraid of a lot of things. You're afraid of violence, thuggery. You're afraid of a lot of things. And there are decent people in the black community who they do want better for themselves, and they may have come from neighborhoods like this, and they saw this and they grew up in it, and they said, you know what, I'm going to do better for myself, and I don't want this anymore. I want to move out of this neighborhood. I want to move away from this craziness. I don't want to be scared to walk in my door at night. I don't want to be afraid that, when I come home, all my things are gone, out of my house. So it depends on the individuals. Honestly, anybody in their right mind would not want to live in conditions and be in situations where they're feeling unsafe, or they're around people who they think it's cool to carry guns. It's cool to act on violence and to be violent and to joke around about violence and gang banging and, being ratchet, as they say. Dressing like, you're from the hood and all that. I know some people do it as a joke, but it's no joking matter if you're serious about it. You can take a ghetto person out of a hood, but you cannot take hood out of a ghetto person. And I know many of you have heard those terms, those phrases, but, it's not just black people that have seen this in poor neighborhoods. There's been other cultures that I've seen that are in poor neighborhoods, and they have their ghettos as well. And what do we see on most social websites, social media, is women from poor neighborhoods. They're young girls. They're fighting. And people think this is cool, and it isn't. It's not. It's not attractive. It's not cool at all. We should be talking about education, bettering ourselves, doing better in life. And when you get to a certain age, fighting does not look cool. This is the kind of thing that you should be interested in, is trying to maybe become a homeowner. Maybe when you see black people who are trying to do better for themselves, they want to save their money. They're thinking about, either education, doing better, a career, maybe just holding down a job. She could be a single woman. Instead of saying, oh, black women ain't shh, and calling black women names and bashing them, why don't we congratulate them when they're doing better and they're trying to take care of their responsibility and their kids, and they want a home, single family home. Maybe one day she will meet someone who learns, she's serious. She's really serious. She'll meet a serious individual. Another form of what some people think or say is selling out is when you date someone of another nationality or race, color. And a lot of times people will say that if you're with someone that is from another background, you're selling out. But sometimes it depends on the individuals. Now, this is the way I look at it. If you're just with someone because you want to prove, like, for example, you have a lot of really mean videos on social websites about black females. And there's not all black men, but there's a group of black men who are real bitter, and they post a lot of mean things about black women. And it's okay for them to be with a white female or somebody that is not of color, but when it's a black woman that's with someone, they just get really angry, and they do not like it. And they call her all kinds of bed wench and all kinds of nasty, derogatory names, and they say some really hateful, cruel things. Or they say she's a gold digger, but they never look at it and say, well, maybe she met somebody she really fell in love with. He just happened to not be black. And it could be this vice versa. The man, he could be black, and he met someone that isn't black, and but if it's malice behind it in either case, then that's not cool. And those relationships probably won't last anyway, if that was why if it's an experiment. So in America, they talk a lot about money and capitalism, the 1%, the 99%, fascism, anarchy, socialism, capitalism. and how it's described. It's described in many ways in politics here in America. So the things that black people are concerning themselves with, we have a black think tank. I'm sure there's one out there. We have people who, they converse back and forth. Maybe they watch these videos and they try to see whose mind is really, really conscious about what's going on in the real world. Well, I think a lot of people are becoming conscious lately, even those who normally didn't take things serious. But have you seen this video of Michael Moore where he's does a documentary talking about, how capitalism is a love story, and how I believe he's really political into a lot of political things dealing with why they took a lot of the jobs out of America. And he talks about Detroit, the decline of Detroit. And so, I watch a lot of stuff about politics, but some people are good at saving money and others aren't. And then some people feel virtually powerless when they don't have a lot of money to save, because they don't have a lot of money to save in the beginning. So some people feel like they live paycheck to paycheck. So they just live to get by, to, keep the lights on and feed their family. And there are situations like that. So they do the best that they can do with the little bit that they have. So at any point in time, if a person is able to save enough money or save money for retirement, even right now, even with some people's retirement, that ain't great. They still need to work. And it used to be you could retire earlier. Not all everybody has it like that. Some people, maybe they had better plan at retiring earlier, or a better setup. And unfortunately, in the black community, you don't find many blacks that have inherited great wealth because of slavery. And so a lot of times our wealth is acquired through maybe our own work, via way of like maybe college education, which sometimes that still doesn't work out. You can be educated but still be poor. But if you are fortunate enough to land a good career like corporate office, and you save a great amount of money, and you're able to put away, like maybe invest in stocks and bonds or property, or you're able to invest in certain things that can help bump your life up financially. But everybody doesn't have that situation. But I don't see anything wrong with African American people if they do finally come into a place in their life that they want to do better. I don't see anything wrong. I say go ahead, call them a sellout. Because sellout, I'd rather be a sellout than have my family living in danger and feeling scared every night. And I'm scared. I'd rather be in a better situation, a better position, and do better in life. Great. Selling out is the new keeping it real. I believe so. But, the way this world is, it has virtually put everybody in that position where you'd rather be called a sellout because you want to live better. You want a better life.